Okay, here I am back with example number 2. So now we're on page 38 still, but example B. So example B says we've got 0.5 grams of magnesium. So I know that I've got one element here is magnesium, is heated and allowed to react completely with chlorine. So there's my second element that I have. And we have 1.96 grams of white powder is formed. And we need to figure out what is the empirical formula. So there's a bit of stuff, a bit of work that we have to do before we get down there. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest we do, okay, so the question said to us that we had 0.5 grams of magnesium and we reacted that with something of chlorine to make a compound, and we're going to go, we don't really know what it looks like, but it's something with magnesium and chlorine in it, and that was going to be 1.96 grams. So how do we figure out what the mass of chlorine is? We've got to do 1.96 minus 0.5 grams, and that should give us 1.46 grams of chlorine. Okay, so now we've got our two masses, we can go down our empirical formula pathway. So we've got the mass. What about, sorry, before we start that, we've got our two elements. So our two elements are magnesium and chlorine. Now you should have these written down. My two masses of those are 0.5 and the mass of the chlorine that reacted was 1.46. If you're wondering why I can just do that maths like I did before, it's really helpful to remember that there's a conservation of mass. So what you put into a reaction is what you've got to get out of the reaction. So here are our two masses. Now I've got to convert them to mole. So how do I convert them to mole? Remember, N equals M over MR. So I'm going to divide the masses by their atomic masses off the periodic table. So I'm going to divide that one by 24.3. I'm going to divide this one by 35.5. And I'm going to end up with 0.0206. Sorry, girls, I'm just going to read this so I don't get them wrong. 0.411 there. Okay, what's our next step? Our next step is we've got to divide by the smallest. So which one is our smaller number of those two? We're going to divide by 0.0206. What we do to one side, we've got to do to the other side. We end up with a ratio of 1 to 2. That means that we've got 1 magnesium with 2 chlorines. So my empirical formula for this one is MgCl2. Now, if you check that with your ionic bonding principles, that still works, doesn't it? Because what's the charge on a magnesium? The charge on a magnesium is 2+. The charge on a chlorine is 1-. So it makes sense that there are 2 chlorines to every magnesium.